Ashley was kissing my stepfather when I walked into the room. Not hugging. Not crying. Kissing. Her fingers curled in his hair like it was instinct. Like muscle memory. Like she'd done it before, many times. Just not when I was supposed to be watching. His hands low on her waist. They didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. Just turned toward me slowly. Like they were annoyed their movie got interrupted. Like I wasn't her husband. Just background noise with a house key. For a full 3 seconds, I didn't move. My bag dropped to the floor. The front door slammed shut behind me like punctuation. Mark, my stepfather, married to my mom, the man who gave me life advice over barbecues, was the first to speak. "Logan," he said, adjusting his shirt like this was a business meeting. "You should sit down." Ashley crossed her arms. She didn't even look ashamed. Just bored. Like I'd walked in late to a conversation she was done having. "I don't need to sit," I said. "What the hell is this?" She shrugged. Shrugged. "It just happened," she said, voice low. "I didn't plan it." My hands were shaking. Not with rage, with clarity. "Get out," I said. "Both of you." Mark had the nerve to hesitate. "We should talk." "You lost that right the second you put your hands on my wife." "My mom's husband. My wife's lover. My life's punchline." Ashley raised her chin. "We haven't done anything." I pointed at the lipstick smudged on his mouth. She went silent. They left. I didn't shout. Didn't smash anything. I locked the door behind them and went straight to the bedroom. Her perfume still hung in the air like a trap. Sweet. Familiar. Weaponized. Her tablet was on the dresser, unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd never look. Maybe she thought I was still that trusting. That night, I wasn't. I told myself not to look. But betrayal begs for witnesses. Messages. Voice notes. Photos. Hotel rooms. Secret weekends. Pet names that made my stomach twist. Him calling her my queen. Her calling him my peace. On my birthday. I thought I was blowing out candles. Turns out, I was snuffing out The Last of Us. And then, money. Receipts for flights. Transfers from our joint savings to a prepaid card. A Napa Vineyard dinner tagged, Mark and Ash, New Beginnings. She used my money to build their affair. I wasn't just the fool. I was the sponsor. I didn't sleep. By 5 a.m., I was in my garage pulling out the old fireproof box where I kept our paperwork. Bank records. Tax returns. I needed to know everything. But that's when the first crack showed. The password to our online banking didn't work. Tried again. Blocked. Next morning, I called the bank. They said the password was changed 2 days ago, and her name had been listed as the primary contact. She locked me out. I called Tom, an old friend from before I got clean. Ex-cop. Knew how to dig. He owed me. I said, "I need everything." He paused. "You sure you want to go down this road?" "She destroyed my life," I said. "I want the blueprint in her handwriting." He agreed. Said he'd need a couple days. I spent them pacing the room, drinking black coffee, staring at nothing. When I came back to the house to grab some clothes, the locks had already been changed. She'd filed for a temporary restraining order. Said I was unstable. She didn't just cheat. She uploaded her version of the story ahead of time. Wrote the fall before I even tripped. The first hit was betrayal. The second, realizing I wasn't ready for the war I'd just declared. By day 3, Tom came back with a folder. Yellow cover. Thick spine. Pages that felt heavier than paper. Paperclip transactions in Mark's name, hotels, gift shops, even a rental car in Seattle, where Ashley had said her mom was sick. Paperclip withdrawals from our joint savings, small, regular, designed to go unnoticed. Paperclip screenshots of her chats, casually explaining to a friend how she'd get me rattled enough to look dangerous. My spine went cold. This wasn't infidelity. This was architecture. A blueprint for demolition. She didn't just cheat. She engineered an alibi and built a case where I'd look like the monster. I brought it to a lawyer I used to work with. He flipped through the evidence, frowning. "This is too emotional," he finally said. "They've already launched their version of the story. If you act now, you'll look like the aggressor." For the first time since all this started, I felt cornered. Ashley texted me from a new number. "Can we talk like adults?" I ignored it. She replied with action. An official claim that I had verbally threatened Mark. Amazing how someone can play victim with the same hands they used to set the fire. Only. I hadn't. I hadn't said a word. Hadn't called. Hadn't written. She lied. On paper. Another swing. I decided to go full throttle. I recompiled the evidence. Prepped it for filing. I was ready. Then a chunk of the financial transactions disappeared from the bank's online archive. I called Tom. No answer. When he finally picked up, he sounded distant. "I've been told to back off," he said. "Told by who?" I snapped. Pause. Then, people. Higher up. "This isn't your playing field, Logan." I stood in the parking lot, phone gripped like a weapon. I was being squeezed. Silently. Systematically. This wasn't heartbreak. This was tactical warfare, and I was late to the battlefield. My mother stopped returning calls. I knew what that meant. Mark had reached her first. Sold his version. Got in her ear. When I drove to her place, she didn't answer the door. A message came instead. "I need space. Don't come here. Love doesn't need evidence. But lies come with footnotes." And he handed her a whole damn binder. That one cut deeper than all the rest. This was the woman who once said, "I'll always believe you first." I drove back to the rental. There was a note under the door. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Let go." No name. But I knew the handwriting. This wasn't just betrayal. This was erasure. They weren't just cheating, they were rewriting me out of the story. Deleting chapters. Replacing my name with his. As if I was a typo in their fairy tale. The next morning, I sat across from a new lawyer, Daryl Lenz. Stern. No fluff. No empathy. Just precision. Daryl didn't offer comfort. He offered clarity, the kind that feels like steel in your spine. He reviewed the files. Studied the bank records. The timeline. The messages. "You weren't just betrayed," he said. "You were looted. Publicly. With intent. They planted a bomb in my life," I replied. "And now they want me to watch them dance in the rubble." He nodded once. "Then we strike back." I met his eyes. "So will I." That same night, I made my first mistake. I sent Mark a short text. "Play smart. I have it all." I told myself it was a warning. Truth is, it was a flex. And I paid for it. An hour later, my accounts were temporarily frozen. Daryl called me immediately. "You tipped your hand. Now he's scrubbing." I sat in the dark, locked out of my own money, iced out by my own mother, ghosted by a friend who'd once taken a punch for me. And yet, I wasn't broken. They thought I'd beg. I sharpened my silence instead. This wasn't grief anymore. Or rage. It was predator mode. No more waiting. No more warnings. It was time to return fire. I didn't sleep. Didn't eat. Didn't blink longer than a second. Daryl moved fast. Within 48 hours, legal letters were drafted, discovery requests prepared, and an injunction was filed to freeze any further movement from our joint accounts. "This is surgical now," he said. "No contact. No warning shots. We serve them ice cold. No yelling. No smashing plates. Just paperwork with the accuracy of a sniper." And I nodded. Because anger burns fast. But cold rage? That's nuclear. First move, Ashley. I had Daryl send a formal divorce petition with attached evidence, time-stamped messages, financial records, hotel receipts. Precise. Brutal. No negotiation. Next, Mark. He got a cease and desist order for accessing our shared account without authorization. 1 hour later, he tried to call me. I didn't answer. 10 minutes after that, I got an email. Subject: "We should talk." Deleted without opening. You don't get to set the meeting after you blow up the house. But they didn't stay quiet. Ashley filed a countermotion, claiming I was emotionally manipulative, controlling, and unstable since the separation. My lawyer flagged it instantly. She's trying to shift the narrative. Preempt the fallout. She's faster than we expected. And then came the worst part. My job called me in. HR. "We received a third-party concern," they said. "Anonymous, but detailed. About your emotional behavior. At home." They didn't just want to break my heart. They wanted to bankrupt my name. Ashley. Or Mark. Maybe both. I sat in that sterile office, staring past the framed motivational quotes, thinking. They're trying to end me. Completely. That night, I broke protocol. I went back to the house. Not to talk. Not to fight. I needed proof. Backup drives. Old receipts. Anything she hadn't touched yet. Funny how the man who paid for the walls is the one sneaking through them. The key still worked. She hadn't changed it again. I moved like a thief in my own life, slipping through the hallways I painted, stepping over rugs I bought, breathing air that no longer belonged to me. In the office closet, a backup drive. Password protected. But Ashley was lazy. She always used birthdays. I guessed Mark's. It opened. Inside, photos. More messages. A spreadsheet with dates and hotels, a timeline of deception. Like she'd been planning an autobiography titled How to Ruin a Man Completely. And Chapter 1. Smile while he funds the betrayal. But as I was copying the files, I heard the front door unlock. Ashley. I ducked behind the desk, laptop still open, heart punching my ribs. She walked in, muttering on the phone, with him. I could hear Mark's voice through the speaker. He's spiraling, she said. He'll crash soon. I think HR bought it. She didn't just stab me. She wrote the obituary before the blade landed. My blood went cold. This wasn't a woman in love. This was a woman building a case. I slipped out the back before she saw me. And that was the moment everything snapped into place. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was survival through strategy. The next morning, Daryl filed an emergency response. 1 file. 1 voice clip. 1 lie caught under a microscope. That's all it took. We submitted audio from the drive. Screenshots. Cross-referenced dates. Built a timeline stronger than cement. Ashley's motion was dropped. But Mark? He moved fast. Tried to shift assets from a joint business he co-owned with another investor, and when the court flagged it, his lawyer pulled a stunt, claimed emotional duress from the breakdown of a family relationship. I cheated, but I'm fragile. That's when I realized, they were both fighting like people who'd gotten away with things their whole lives. And I was the first wall they'd ever hit. They'd spent their lives playing with fire. I made sure they finally felt the burn. Late that night, Mark showed up. Outside my rental. Hoodie. Baseball cap. Eyes jittery. "Can we talk?" he asked. "No," I said. "Just 5 minutes." 5 minutes to say what? That the knife slipped? I stepped out. Not because I wanted peace. Because I wanted to see the moment he realized he'd already lost. "You think I won't go down swinging," he said. "I think you already fell," I replied. "And you don't even know it." Then I tossed him a folder. Inside, bank data, screenshots, his own voice on a call saying he'd fixed the Logan situation. He looked at me like I'd just handed him a loaded gun. "You recorded us?" "No," I said. "She did. And then forgot to delete it." He paled. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" He didn't say another word. Just walked off into the night, dragging his legacy behind him like a broken limb. Let him limp. I wasn't here to heal traitors. Mark didn't show up at work the next day. Didn't log into his accounts. Didn't return calls. Funny how confidence evaporates when consequences call your name. Because by morning, he'd been served. Full civil suit. Financial misconduct. Asset manipulation. Plus evidence of emotional coercion and collusion in defamation attempts against me. Daryl called it the clean kill. And Ashley? She still thought this was salvageable. Still thought tears could rewind tape. She asked for a meeting. Public place. Neutral ground. I agreed. Not because I wanted closure. I didn't want peace. I wanted her to see what silence looks like when it's documented. She showed up early, again. Hair straightened. No makeup. Same cream sweater she wore the night she lied with her silence. I didn't sit. Just handed her a thin envelope. "What is this?" she asked, scanning the pages. "Final terms." "You're freezing the accounts," she whispered. "No," I said. "I already did." Her jaw tensed. "You're leaving me with nothing." I shrugged. "Exactly what you left me. You cashed in my trust. Now I'm collecting the debt." She tried soft. "Logan. I never meant for this to happen like it did." Funny how the guilty always hate the outcome more than the crime. She reached for my hand. I pulled back. "I know about the second phone," I said. "The one you kept at your gym locker. I know about the texts to that guy in Denver. I know Mark wasn't the first." Her face cracked. "You went through my. You burned my life down. I walked through the ashes. And I took names with every step." That night, Daryl filed the final motion. Court date secured. Emergency hearing requested. And that's when it almost unraveled. Mark's lawyer filed a response, claiming the entire folder of audio evidence was illegally obtained and inadmissible. If the judge agreed, I'd lose half my leverage. Daryl called me at midnight. "We've got a problem." My stomach dropped. The weight came back, that pressure behind the ribs, like I'd swallowed stone. "He's trying to suppress it. He's calling it a violation of privacy. Claims Ashley didn't consent to recording. She recorded it herself. Still. If they argue intent." I cut him off. "What's our move?" Daryl paused. "Then, we fight fire with cold logic. We show pattern. We show timeline. We prove motive. We weren't defending anymore. We were prosecuting." 2 days later, we were in court. Ashley didn't look at me. Mark showed up wearing a suit 2 sizes too big and confidence 3 sizes too small. All that swagger melted the moment truth became evidence. Their lawyer made a play, that I was the aggressor, the stalker, the manipulator with a vendetta. My turn came. Darryl laid it out clean. Messages. Timeline. Bank statements. Her own words. His lies. My restraint. When the judge asked about the audio, Darryl spoke like he was reading from scripture. The file wasn't extracted. It wasn't hacked. It was found, unprotected, on a shared drive inside marital property. The plaintiff did not plant, forge, or alter it. He simply documented what was already there. Silence. The judge took a breath. Motion to suppress, denied. Gavel down. Their fairy tale cracked on record. That was the moment. The shift. The fall. After the hearing, Mark tried to corner me in the parking lot. He looked smaller. Sweating through his collar. All that swagger melted the moment truth became evidence. You don't have to go nuclear, he said. You broke the reactor, I replied. Now you're choking on the fallout. He grabbed my arm. We can settle. Off the record. Quiet. I looked down at his hand. Then back at him. Let go. He did. Ashley texted me that night. Ashley, I feel like I don't exist anymore. That's what happens when the mask slips. And there's nothing underneath. I didn't reply. She was right. The version of her that mattered, died the night she chose war. Ashley didn't show up to the next hearing. Her lawyer did, flustered, late, carrying a settlement proposal that looked like it had been drafted in panic. No fight. No negotiation. Just surrender dressed up in legal jargon. It wasn't a proposal. It was a white flag dipped in perfume. She wanted to walk away quietly. No public admission. No fault. Just a clean split and sealed documents. I declined. She wanted silence. She should have honored it when I gave her my vows. But she broke it with whispers in someone else's sheets. Now I answer with the kind of silence you can't talk over. Mark, on the other hand, tried to play defense. Filed an appeal. Launched a PR move through mutuals. Started spinning the story, that I was bitter, unstable, out for revenge. Didn't matter. Hearsay dies in court. Evidence doesn't. Because the screenshot spoke louder than his gym-polished grin. The paper trail didn't blink. And when the second cease and desist hit him, this time from a business partner who'd found out about the hidden asset shifts, the walls started to fall. Fast. He was pulled from 2 board seats. Lost a consulting contract. Got served again, this time by someone who had nothing to do with me. I didn't destroy him. I just took the mask off. The rot did the rest. I didn't swing the hammer. I just turned on the lights. Meanwhile, Ashley tried one last move. Filed a motion to claim partial ownership of the house. Said she contributed, emotionally, to the home's value. Darryl nearly laughed in court. Your Honor, he said, there's no financial line item for sabotage. If Heartbreak paid rent, she might have had a claim. Motion denied. I walked out of that courtroom like I'd walked out of a burning building. Not triumphant. Just intact. Victory doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it just breathes. That same week, a video surfaced online. Grainy footage. A drunk Mark at a bar, saying out loud what he should have buried deep. She was hot, man. My stepson's wife. What was I supposed to do? The internet did what it always does. Clips. Memes. Reddit threads. And just like that, Mark's name became a punchline. From mentor to meme in under 24 hours. He went dark online. Deleted all socials. Moved out of town. Ashley didn't follow him. They weren't a couple anymore. Just wreckage walking in different directions. I got one last message from her. Ashley, do you ever think about what we used to have? I didn't answer. Because the truth is, I didn't. Not anymore. What we used to have wasn't real. It was rented peace. Conditional loyalty. It wasn't a home. It was a stage set. And the curtains finally fell. Weeks passed. Then months. I didn't tell the story to friends. Didn't vent. Didn't brag. I let my stillness say everything. People watched her fade from the circle. Watched him disappear from LinkedIn, from invites, from relevance. No press release. No flames. Just silence. Sharp and final. At work, I got promoted. At home, I slept. No more wondering where she was. No more checking joint accounts. No more walking on eggshells hoping she'd choose me again. No more duct tape on cracked walls. No more pretending the floor didn't shake. I wasn't rebuilding. I was replacing. And this time, every brick had my name on it. I didn't buy a new house right away. Didn't redecorate my life like a makeover montage. Didn't dye my hair, get a tattoo, or sign up for therapy. I didn't reinvent myself. I just reclaimed what they couldn't touch. I just started fixing what I could reach. Drawer by drawer. Light bulb by light bulb. Fixing what she never noticed was broken. No metaphors. Just screws, wood, and silence. Knocks, the mutt I'd adopted, became my clock. Morning walks. Evening routines. He didn't care about the past. Just the next step. The next tree. The next scent. Some nights, we'd sit on the back porch. Me with a drink. Him with his ears up, tail thumping like a steady drumbeat. The silence didn't sting anymore. I wasn't haunted by echoes. I set the volume myself. It wasn't punishment. It was peace. I didn't talk about Mark. Didn't say her name. Not out of avoidance. Out of irrelevance. The court orders were final. The property was mine. The accounts were locked. The lawyer was paid. All that remained of them was digital dust and discarded paperwork. Even ghosts eventually get archived. Once, a mutual friend ran into me at the grocery store. "You look different," he said. "Cleaner," I replied. He didn't ask what happened. Didn't need to. People felt it. I deleted the wedding album from my cloud. Not out of rage, it just didn't belong anymore. Like a mislabeled file from a job I never worked. The only photo I kept was one of me. Standing on a cliff in Oregon, wind blasting my jacket open, sun behind me. She'd taken it, back when we thought a hike could fix a fracture. I cropped her out. Framed it. Hung it near the door. That was the only version of us that deserved to stay. Me, moving forward. Her, removed. That version of me deserved to stay. I didn't date. Didn't swipe. Didn't test the waters. Not because I was broken. Because I wasn't searching. I'd spent too long proving I was enough for someone who never stopped checking the exits. Now. Enough started with me. No one else gets a vote. And ended with peace. Mark never resurfaced. Last I heard, he was doing freelance consulting for half the pay and none of the attention. Ashley moved cities. Someone said she works in a yoga studio now, renamed her socials, deleted the past. Fine. Let them vanish. Some people don't exit your story. They just dissolve between the pages. I kept working. Saved money. Started writing again, not poetry, not journals. Just observations. The way people glance at their phones when they lie. The pause before a fake laugh. The look in someone's eyes when they realize they're replaceable. I wasn't bitter. Wasn't waiting for karma. Wasn't crafting quotes to post online. Healing doesn't need hashtags. I was living. Quietly. Deliberately. On purpose. One night, I found the old burner phone Ashley used. I'd kept it, not out of sentiment, but as evidence. It still had a charge. Still had the texts. Still had her voice notes to Mark, soft, giddy, shameless. I almost deleted them. Almost. But instead, I dropped the phone into a box, sealed it, and shoved it deep in the closet. Not to revisit. Just to remind myself. Closure doesn't come from replaying. It comes from refusing to press play again. And I've got that now. Set in concrete. Bolted to the frame. No keys left under the mat. It took me a long time to stop watching the door. Not in fear. Out of habit. You live long enough with betrayal, and you start checking for exits even when you're alone. Because once trust breaks, even silence sounds suspicious. But one morning, I made coffee without looking over my shoulder. Just poured, stirred, sipped, and that was it. No memory attached. No phantom footsteps. No, what if, tapping at the window. Just caffeine and quiet. And for the first time, neither tried to lie to me. And I realized, this was it. Not a new chapter. Just clean paper. And this time, the pen stays in my hand. I started sleeping with the windows open again. Started answering unknown numbers. Started laughing at dumb commercials like someone who hadn't been through fire. The world didn't look brighter. I just wasn't squinting anymore. One Saturday, I passed a street fair. Normally, I'd avoid the crowd. Too loud. Too messy. Too unpredictable. But this time, I stopped. Bought a lemon tart from a vendor with too many tattoos and a broken laugh. A woman beside me made a joke about overpriced pastries. I laughed. She smiled. That was it. No numbers. No pressure. Just a moment. And that was enough. Not everything has to become something. Some things are beautiful because they don't. Later that night, I thought about how many times I used to rewrite my own history. Trying to make sense of them. Trying to fix what they shattered from the inside out. But healing isn't revision. It's release. Closure doesn't come from better endings. It comes from no longer needing one. I no longer tell people, it's fine, when it's not. No longer explain my silence. No longer soften my no. I don't owe softness to those who mistook kindness for weakness. The old me would have explained. The new me just exits. Sometimes, Knox still gets startled by thunder. He runs to me, shaking, eyes wide. I don't say, it's okay. I just sit beside him. Because sometimes, being there is louder than fixing. I gave that to him. The same thing no one gave me. A coworker once asked if I ever regretted not getting revenge, more publicly. I smiled. If you light someone on fire, they burn once, I said. But if you outlive them, you win every day. He didn't ask again. My place is simple now. White walls. Worn floors. Sunlight in the corners. No gallery of memories. No curated fiction. Just truth. Just air. And nothing in this house lies to me anymore. I still don't know what's next. I'm not chasing that. But the weight's gone. And in its place. Room. Not for someone else. For everything I used to silence. Room for better mistakes. Room for unearned joy. Room for peace that doesn't ask to be earned. And if love shows up again, it can knock. It can wait. It can prove it's not made of smoke. But I won't beg it in. Won't bargain. Won't shrink. Because I've already done the hardest thing. I chose myself. And meant it. Not as a reaction. As a religion. My alarm doesn't jolt me awake anymore. It just taps my shoulder. No dread. No mental math of what lies I'll have to swallow by 9 a.m. Just breath. And the next thing. I make my bed. Every morning. Not because I'm healing. Not because a podcast said it builds discipline. Because it's mine. I don't wake up in someone else's script anymore. Sheets I chose. Pillows that remember my shape. A room that doesn't hide knives behind smiles. No more pretending the bed is safe when the silence isn't. Work is steady now. Emails. Deadlines. Too much coffee. Sometimes the printer jams and no one knows why. Sometimes a coworker overshares about their breakup. Sometimes it rains right before I clock out and I forget my umbrella. Life doesn't feel like punishment anymore. It's not a sentence. It's a sentence break. And I happen right alongside them. There's a cafe near the office. I don't go there for comfort. I go because they get my order right. And that's enough. I sit by the window. Laptop open. Noise in the background that doesn't ask anything from me. I used to crave chaos. Now I order coffee. I started saying yes to small things. A game night with coworkers. Volunteering once a month. Hosting my niece for a sleepover, where we ate cereal for dinner and watched old cartoons on mute while making up our own dialogue. No table settings. Just joy in a bowl. Nothing cinematic. Just moments. Strung together like lights you don't realize are beautiful until you look up. I still walk Knox twice a day. Same route. Same leash. Same squirrel he never catches. He's older now. A little slower. But when he sleeps beside me on the couch, snoring with full body commitment, I realize. We both made it. No medals. No parade. Just breath and belonging. Sometimes I look in the mirror and barely recognize the man staring back. Not because he's changed. Because he finally makes sense. I don't look like who I was. I look like who I saved. His eyes don't scan for betrayal. His shoulders don't carry names that left. His mouth isn't rehearsing comebacks. Just quiet. Just breath. A friend asked me if I ever feel lonely. I said. Sometimes. But it doesn't scare me. Because I remember what it felt like to be unseen in a full house. To beg for eye contact from someone who only looked at you when lying. Now. Loneliness is occasional. But peace is permanent. Peace doesn't knock. It waits at the door until you're ready to let go. There's a plant on my windowsill I haven't managed to kill. A playlist I made that has no skips. A chair that creaks only when I sit in it. This is the kingdom I built. And there are no usurpers left in it. It doesn't need a throne. Or applause. Or witnesses. It just needs me. And I'm here now. I don't count the days anymore. I don't wait for a sign. I don't measure progress like a bank statement. I just live. Not happily ever after. Not tragically poetic. Just deliberately. One page at a time. No footnotes. No edits. Just a story I finally get to finish on my terms. Some days, I still like the quiet too much to share it. The way the floor creaks in the same places. The rhythm of the radiator clicking in winter. The silence after I lock the door at night and know, it's just me here. Not lonely. Not empty. Just, mine. This silence doesn't echo anymore. It listens. I don't fill spaces anymore. Not with noise. Not with people. Not with plans I don't believe in. I don't rush to text back. Don't chase connections that need convincing. Don't entertain apologies that arrive too late and dressed like nostalgia. If closure needs an invitation, it's not real. But I'm not closed off either. Just, better gated. You can still build bridges, just make sure there's a lock on the gate. There's a difference between being guarded and being grounded. And I've earned the right to choose who gets past the fence. I still keep a second coffee mug in the cupboard. Not because I expect anyone. Just because maybe, someday, I'll want to offer warmth to someone who doesn't mistake it for weakness. And if not, the mug stays clean. Some symbols aren't hopes, they're boundaries in disguise. And that's okay too. A woman held the elevator for me last week. Simple. Kind. No agenda. We shared 10 floors in silence. Not awkward, just peaceful. She smiled as she stepped off. I smiled back. Not everything is a prelude. Sometimes a smile is just that, not a plot twist, not a promise. Some moments just are, and that's enough. I stopped checking mutuals. Stopped wondering who still thinks about me. Stopped trying to exist in rooms that no longer feel like home. If they lock the door behind you, don't knock again. Build your own walls, with windows. I don't want back in. I want forward. Even if forward is just dinner for one and no replays. I don't romanticize resilience anymore. I just practice it. Quietly. Like breath. Like brushing my teeth. Like locking the door because I get to, not because I have to. Safety isn't silence. It's the choice not to invite storms inside. My happiness doesn't have a soundtrack now. No dramatic violins. No slow-motion realizations. It sounds like dishes clinking in the sink. Keys landing on the table. Water boiling. The click of my reading lamp. It sounds like real life. The kind that never begged for applause. Because peace doesn't perform, it just exists. Sometimes I see couples holding hands and I don't flinch. I don't ache. I just notice. Like I'd notice wind moving leaves. It's there. It's nice. But it's not a mirror. If someone asks how I'm doing, I don't say, better. I say, I'm good. And I know what that means now. Not because I have more. But because I carry less. And maybe, eventually, someone will sit on my couch without making the room shrink. Maybe they'll love the silence as much as I do. Maybe they won't ask me to bleed for their comfort. And if they don't come, I'll still be okay. Because I didn't build this peace to trade it in for noise. I built it to keep me safe. And it's working. I don't need fireworks anymore. Just a steady flame that doesn't flicker when the door opens. Because now, the only thing I wait for, is the kettle's whistle. I don't write to bleed anymore. I write because the pen is light again. I don't bleed onto the page now, I build with it. Because the page no longer looks like a battlefield. It's just paper now. And I'm not afraid of filling it. Most days, I don't think about the war. Not the betrayal. Not the noise. Not the version of me that kept offering open hands to people holding scissors. That man isn't gone. He's not buried. He's retired, with dignity intact. He's just done handing out rope to those who tie knots only when they're leaving. I used to think healing meant going back to who I was before the damage. Now I know better. I didn't go back. I went forward, without dragging the wreckage behind me. There's still dust in the corners of my memory. Still moments that surprise me when I'm least expecting them. A scent. A song. A street name. But they don't knock me over anymore. They just pass through, like weather I've already learned how to dress for. No storm scares you once you've survived your own flood. I no longer chase redemption arcs. Not for me. Not for them. No one has to understand why I left the fire. They weren't the ones burning. And now that I'm out, I don't owe anyone smoke signals. These days, my boundaries aren't warnings. They're structure. Not fences with spikes, just clear lines that say, "You're welcome here, but not with muddy shoes and matches." I welcome honesty, not arson disguised as affection. I stopped explaining the past to new people. If they ask, I tell them. I outgrew a few cages. And if they need more than that, they're probably not meant to stay. The best part? I like my own company. I laugh at my own bad jokes. I talk to Knox like he's fluent in sarcasm. I let my shirts wrinkle in the dryer. I don't iron memories anymore. I just wear what fits. I play the same song 4 times in a row if it fits the mood. I'm not curating anymore. I'm existing. And it fits. No more, maybe next time. No more, what if. No more mental time travel to change the outcome. It ended. I lived. And now I live. Some days are quiet. Some feel stretched thin. Some taste like routine. Some like rest. But none of them feel like survival. I'm not waking up to outrun ghosts. I'm waking up, because I want to. They feel like mine. I don't need anyone to understand the full story. Because it wasn't written for them. It was written through me, in silence, in choices, in things I didn't say. And sometimes, what you don't say echoes loudest. I no longer decorate doorways for visitors who never arrive. If someone walks in and they belong, I'll know. Not by butterflies. Not by chaos. But by the way my body doesn't brace when they speak. Until then, I'm home. Not healing. Not hiding. Not hoping. Just here. Fully. Finally. Me. And for the first time, that's not a beginning. It's enough.